I've got a question, Dennis. I remember seeing that you uh, uh, took David Garibaldi's place for an evening of Tower in Vancouver. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it was two gigs. It was
You
one
did?
in one in some island somewhere.
Mexico
Something.
too.
Where was it?
You were in
Yeah,
Mexico.
yeah. That was man. After that last gig in Vancouver, I turned to the band and I said to them, "Well, I guess I can die now because you don't get any better than that,
Yeah.
Other than maybe playing with the bands you guys played with, you know." I played with Santana, so Mike Street, and I had Mike Street there. It was like that was my hanging boy there.
Yeah, we were hanging out. And Dennis is like, man, why don't you take this gig back? David's like, I can't take it anymore. You take it.
You know, quite honestly, man, the fact is, when we come into this room, Dennis, and we speak about music and guys that we've played with, we have a different perspective about them because we actually worked with them. We were part of that, whatever family that was.
Yeah.
And so people outside of this room, and they hear you say something about this guy that they worship or whatever, it becomes a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to not want to say a great deal about Chick or somebody,
Yeah.
but we have different viewpoints because they were in our family, we were in their family for the time that we spent making the music that we made, and we made great music with these people.
Yeah, sure have.
But then again, they're different kind of people.
Well, let me just put it this way. I used to carry weapons to the rehearsals. They had none. That's no bullshit.
Like,
Really?
first of all, we're the only people in this chat, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. It's what it looks like and it's what it really is. And seldom are the two one and the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in Seattle. I was in Seattle playing with Hub, and we were playing in the club. And when Freddie wants to do his thing, you can't just sit back there and just, when he's up in this thing, that's where it's got to be. So we were up in it. And he said, "You playing too loud, you playing too loud. You playing too loud, you playing too loud." And so when it was over, he came back, he said, "Man, you playing too loud, man. If you keep playing like that, man." I said, "Freddie, you way bigger than I am. But I'm going to tell you right now, you come to me, I'm going for your chops. I'm going to hit you right in your mouth. I don't care. You can get some punches in, but I'm going for your mouth."
Max Roach style.
He was cool. After that, he was cool. That's it. I ain't no big guy, but he's a big guy, and he's coming for me. I'm going for the mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going for the chops. That's what it is.
You remember that? You remember that tape of Freddie when he cussed out the audience?
Oh yeah, yeah.
In Germany.
But
Yeah.
you know that was on Max's gig. You know that, right?
Yes.
And did you hear the story? What happened when he got in that dressing room?
No, I don't know what happened there.
Max hit him in the mouth, knocked him on his ass.
Who hit him?
Max Roach
Max Roach.
hit him in the mouth.
Yeah.
And it took some months for him to recover, to get his chops back. But he never had a problem out of Freddie anymore.
Well, I was at the Vanguard playing with him, and he did that same thing. He's playing really, and I'm, come on, that's where it is. You're going to keep it up.
Yeah.
And I walked back into the into the kitchen, and Philly Joe was there.
Oh.
And Philly Joe said, "Yeah, Len, that's what I'm talking about. I used to make Miles' lips bleed. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be." These are the jazz stories. We back into the jazz stories, you know.
Hey, look, man, I
Okay.
was playing in Baltimore. I'm playing here. This place called the Jazz Closet, and then that place was like where all the guys, when they come from out of town, or all the professional guys, they end up going there to, just to, jam out or whatever have you.
Right.
I just happened to be there that one night with when Freddie and some of those guys came in there, and Philly Joe walked in, and I'm like, oh shit, got to get him on the drums. So I asked Baker, the club owner, because I didn't know him, I never met him. Like, you got to get him up there, And Baker went over and said some stuff to him. The guy got up. Philly got up there and played. He killed. He liked my cymbals.
Mm.
And he kept talking after. He was like, yeah, man, don't turn your back. Them cymbals going to disappear. I'm going like, yeah, well, whatever. Man, I had to come back there the next day, so I left my cymbals there. When I came back there, the cymbals were gone.
Really?
And I'm thinking, like, he's playing a joke. I went down in the basement looking around. I didn't see no cymbals. And I'm like, and it's like half an hour before gig time. And I'm like looking for the cymbals. And the bartender said, well, there was a guy that came in here and he just came up and took the cymbals down. And Baker goes like, well, I was here. The only guy that came in was Philly. He took the cymbals and turned them.
Well,
But it was my first experience.
right.
I mean, I never thought he would like come in and take my cymbals.
Wow.
And
Ray,
bomb them.
Ray Appleton borrowed my hi-hats and snare from Thrust. And I wasn't going to give him, but he actually cried. Ray could really work you. And he borrowed them and he gave them back. And he never gave them back to me, and he died. And I went to his house to help clean out his house because I actually loved Ray, whether he had my shit or not. And it wasn't there. So like some months went by, and the guy that owns the Jazz Kitchen is a part-time drummer. And he called me and he said, hey, I got something of yours I think you're going to really want. Yeah, I got your hi-hats and your snare from Thrust. I'm like, oh my God, and he brought it over to me,
Oh,
And
man.
another
That's
guy
great.
in Oakland named Smiley Winters borrowed a set of my Gretches and kept them for 10 years and returned them.
He what?
And he returned them 10 years later.
Well, the record Milestones, if you listen to that tune Milestones, all you hear
Yeah.
is the cymbal and side stick on the snare. And that was because throughout that whole, they had Philly had pawned Miles's drum kit. And on that record, if you hear the different tunes on the record, they were bringing in drums while they were recording the record. So this is that's why Miles, check this out. That's why Miles had his own drum set. Miles bought a drum set. He had a Gretsch drum kit that he had, and he brought that every place he went because he said, if I wanted to fire the drummer, I could fire the drummer and my drums would still be there. But because he had learned from letting Philly have his drums, and Philly would pawn the drum set. So he bought his own drum set, and like, it was cool.
So I got
How many
back.
snare drums you got now, Dennis?
Well, let me see. I had 75. I lost 20. So
Wow.
Really?
So, I went to his house, man. It was like a warehouse, a drum warehouse. That's what it was.
Wow.
And you go in different rooms. Oh, this is, forget about it. Crazy.
yeah, I'm a fan and a collector as well. So
You are.
I got the drum that Jocko used on Team Town. I'm trying to get stuff from Lenny. Lenny's just he won't cooperate. This ain't going there, man. He ain't hear me. Dave, you ain't either with that Fleeling kit that's in your mother's garage.
Yeah, you already asked me about it.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, he asks me about it too.
I'm making all kind of deals with him. He just ain't cooperating, man. He just
What's the Teen Town kit or snare?
no. The snare drum is a 15 by 6.5. I think it's a 6.5.
Really?
I haven't seen it in a while. Yeah.
The chrome?
He had it cranked.
Chrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got a few Geislers down there. I don't know if you've heard of those drums. They're from the 30s or the 40s. And
Wow.
Chrysler, you said?
Geisler.
Oh, Deisler. I know you wanted to get that bell brass piccolo snare drum that I had.
You know, see, you had to bring that up, man. Jesus. Now I gotta go to the mountaintop on this one.
You know a guy named Mike Corrado? Do you know this guy?
Yeah.
Because he's a collector, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We went
Yeah.
to high school together. Yeah.
You know, I'm not a collector, quite
Not
honestly.
either.
I mean, I have some vintage drums, but I'm not a collector. I mean, you know, like, I don't know what to say.
Well,
Yeah.
see that, you know, I've always been a fan of the drums and fan of you guys and everybody that had anything to say that just caught my ear. And you know, the more, you know, okay, I got, let me see, I got Mac's old drum kit. I got one of Elvin's drum kit.
Wow.
I got one of, let me see, Max, Elvin. I got Tony's drum kit.
Really?
Yeah, the Gretsch. And I got Philly Joe.
Wow.
I'm missing somebody.
You got Phillies?
No, I'm sorry. I got Papa Joe's. I got Papa Joe's kit. And somebody else.
Like their original kits or
Yeah.
stuff that they
It's
got
one of the
later?
kits they actually played.
But you should have them,
Oh.
you should put them in some museum or something, man.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh,
They are. They're in my museum. That's
Yeah, but you know what? Museums, depending upon what museum it is, they want you to donate the drum.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because like I have my bass drum from Bitches Brew that I want to put in the African American Museum in DC, and they want me to donate it. I said no.
We
I
have
mean,
a,
I would let them take it for 10 years or whatever, but I want it back. Chicks had a nickname for me, and the nickname was Buttman, because every time he would say something, he'd say, "Well, we have this," and I'd say, "But this is what we should do," you know. And he would say, "Well, what do you think of this album cover?" And everybody would say yes, and I say, "But I don't know about that part right there." So, you know, it was always like that with
Wow.
me, you know.
drummers.
Yeah, you know, that's
There's always one guy.
yeah. But you see, I think that that's what's needed.
Dennis, did you play with Joey D? And wait a minute, did you play with Joey D?
Yeah, with John McLaughlin.
John McLaughlin, yeah.
Oh yeah, and Joey D was on the gig.
Yeah. he was on there.
Oh man, that's right. I remember now. Yeah.
That was a killer.
Yeah.
That was a killer.
Oh, I'll say that was evil, man. I love that. You know,
I
Hey,
tell you,
man,
my best moments of that when Joey gets bored, you know, because he played everything. We're playing everything at warp 12 speed,
yeah,
and he's got a handle on it. And he's matching John every lick for lick and all that stuff. And now he's bored. He's looking for something else, you know, because he's got that young mind, you know. And so he just pulled out a trumpet one day while he's still
Oh, yeah.
playing keyboards, and now he's playing foot bass or left-handed. No, he drops one hand, so he's playing the keyboards or the keys with his right hand, and now he's playing foot bass, and he puts a trumpet up to his face, and he sounds almost like Miles.
No, not almost. He sounds like Miles.
Wow,
I know. I played with him, and that boy can play the trumpet.
I was
For
just trying to
real.
be polite to, you know, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
Well, you know, he played in Miles's band.
Yeah.
He played in Miles's band, and that's how he learned how to play the trumpet. He watched Miles.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
he played with Miles when he was about, 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And then for him to pick up the trumpet and to,
Play it,
man, he was badass. No joke.
Well, you know, Miles gave him a trumpet and gave him a few mouthpieces with the years on it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Miles was even impressed.
he
I mean,
was.
the guy would just he'd pick up stuff, and it was like all the years you have done to perfect that, he picks it up, you know, in a couple of months, and he's like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So Dennis, what was it like playing with like these hip hop guys, like serious, like
Well, getting with the Sugar Hill Gang, I mean, first of all, those years was like everybody hated each other. All the rappers hated each other. And you go on these you go on these tours. You got a tour bus, and it's the Sugar Hill tour bus, and we had like a couple of girls from the Sequence. They were on that bus, and then like some crazy crap go down, and you get somebody from another bus was on the tour, and he gets on the bus, and the fight break out. And like the history of me being on tour, none of that's never happened. Even the history of P-Funk, it didn't happen. But I remember one time I pulled the curtain back, and there was a cheer going down the aisle, flying.
What?
A cheer.
a chick.
And if I had stuck my head out, I would have got knocked out. Coming in, you're swinging baseball bats in that little small aisle,
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. But then, things changed. They all got along, sort of.
Yeah. So when
And,
you work with like Dre or Snoop or what'd you say, 50 Cent, right?
Yeah.
Like most of those records, I didn't even realize they were using real drums.
Yeah. They had some real drums on there.
Yeah.
It'd be mixed sometime, right?
Yeah.
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 It'd be
So
mixed.
what do they?
Well, sometimes they had this engineer named LG something, Chris LG, who's kind of famous in LA right now.
Chris Lord Alge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
He
famous.
was a part of the Sugar Hill thing too.
Wow. That.
But with Dre, sometimes he would like take some of the beats, and then if he really liked it, then he'll run it through like a I think he told me he'd take the drums and take the signal from the drums and store that, and then run that back into a drum machine.
Wow.
And that's how you get the drum, like the mechanic drum sound.
Wow.
When people talk about composers, Beethoven, Mozart, and then you could say Herbie, Chick. What is your definition of a composer?
Well, I tell you, I have some friends. I have a friend. He's a well-known harmonica player, and he writes beautiful melodies and this and this. And he talks in terms of his tunes. He says it's my composition, right? And it always bothers me a little bit because I feel like it's a tune, and a composition to me has. The word has I'm not saying I'm right, but the connotation is that it's got weight to it with that word composition, And like I would consider, of course, Chick and John McLaughlin and Herb, well, Chick is a composer,
But your harmonica friend.
Yeah.
Well, like I wrote a tune or I composed a tune. It's yeah.
Well, but what I'm asking is your harmonica friend.
Yeah.
Where does his inspiration come from? Where does the music come from for him to write his songs?
I don't know.
It's the same place that Chick Corea's
Yes.
inspiration comes from.
Yeah.
So it's basically and the fact is Eazy-E comes in with like a check with 6 figures that Mozart may have never even made that amount of money.
That's right.
You bet.
So
Right.
composer.
Yeah.
See, and I tell you the reason why. I mean, when Dennis said that, it clicked off in my head again. Because your harmonica player friend, when he writes his songs, his inspiration comes from that same space, man.
Sure, it does. Sure.
Yeah.
And we have been programmed to say that this kind of music is elevated more than this kind of music. So they can't be the same because of the fact that, this is highbrow music.
Well,
And this
when
guy
you-
just writes songs.
When you say that, you're referring to rappers and hip hop, which comes from stuff that's been created already,
Yeah.
more so than anything else.
True.
Some,
True. That is different.
Sampling, you know.
So right, sampling is different. Yes, sampling.
And even rap. I mean, it's a drum beat and poetry. It's street poetry with a drum beat. I mean,
But I mean, you know, like the Beatles songs was
Serious.
the Beatles songs was poetry
well, yeah.
and beats too.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, there was more
but it's the production
more
that's
melodic.
put around it
Yeah.
that makes it.
but then, on top or behind the beat. And he was talking about Tony, of course, in early Tony, like, you know, Miles Tony, not the later Tony. And he and how Tony had said, I had heard Tony say this at a clinic one time, you can play. So what do you guys think about that? Do you really believe there's an on top or behind the beat or any of that? Or do you
Yeah.
just play the feel? I just play the goddamn how I feel. I don't
But
think
actually-
about
I
it.
tell you this. I tell you
Actually,
this.
3 places.
Right.
Actually.
Right. There's on top of the beat.
Yeah.
There's center beat, and there's behind the beat.
Behind the
and
beat, right.
and who played center beat is Art Blakey. Art
Yeah.
Blakey played right in the middle of the beat, center, bang.
Yeah.
Where Elvin might have a feel that is a little bit behind the beat.
You know what? 2 of Elvin's bass players told me he don't play behind because he shuts his hi-hat in the same place we all do. It's just he throws that note on the cymbal, that second note. So it's
Well, yeah, the cymbal beat is what makes it dance. Cymbal
Yeah,
beat
yeah.
is what makes all of it dance. And the thing about Tony, as you know, the one thing about Tony Williams, and you heard Stanley Clarke tell us this, Ron Carter. Ron Carter is the thing that kept Tony Williams
yeah.
bang.
Yeah.
Ron Carter is Checkpoint Charlie. Everybody knows where the beat is.
Yep.
So Tony could play all around it, play all this badass stuff because Ron kept it bang like
That's how I
that.
feel when I see it. I don't even, but when I go to a gig, I don't bring any of that with me. A guy counts it off and I start playing. I don't think, okay, the bass player, if a dude is way in the back seat, I'm not going to give him too much love unless I have a cymbal with 400 rivets in it. You know what I mean? Where the note will last for about 30 minutes. But if he's gonna not have a set of nuts and he's gonna cave in, because some of those cats, they back up and you back up with them. Why you take the point off the cymbal to widen it out, and they'll drop back some more. And at one point, somebody's
Woo! I could
firing
give you,
that.
yes, Mike, to
I
this
got
day.
phones with these cats. in it.
Wait. To this day, I'm going to tell you all this, and y'all, this is a point of reference. And I hate to, I can't listen to it. But when we did Echoes of an Era, Chick was in his Thelonious Monk vibe, where like he would play behind the beat. And Stanley would mimic that. So you're playing at a tempo like this, and they're going da 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 boo da da ba boo ba, and the bass does that too, and it makes it drag. So it sounds like the drummer is dragging. Oh God! That's,
Well, you know,
so you have to play so on top. I mean,
That's a backbreaker. Art Blakey said, "Let the punishment fit the crime." You
Yeah,
know what
I mean,
Like, what
it's
I mean? Like,
really bad. It's really bad. You know.
and, you know, melodies are, you could do that, like, you know, on the
Yeah.
piano or the sax or even trumpet, you know, where it's just floating. But in order to do that, I mean, the bass player and the drummers, especially the bass player, gotta be
Exactly right. I mean,
gotta
but
have that foundation, you know. So they
there's 3 guys here: Greg, you, Dave, and Dennis. You guys can play in the center of the beat and not make it move. I've witnessed it. I've seen you do it. I've listened to you do it. And it's a thing to be able to do that. But in all those instances, there were bass players that you locked up with so that you could do that.
hey, Dave,
And that's
do
a
you
very
feel like
important point.
Dave, do you feel like you're playing on top with the tower, or you're just playing?
Well, I'm kind of playing, but it always ends up being on top because I kind of like the way that feels.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah,
I just
yeah.
kind of like that. And regarding these conversations, feel like I'm a composer of beats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, for real. That's for sure.
I hear you.
And I play on top of the beat. I tried to change some of it and put it where people wanted it, but it was never comfortable. I could never be comfortable doing that. Some guys can do that. I mean, it's a skill, I guess, but to me, it's just like handwriting. You write the way that you write, you play the groove, you play the time the way that you play the time, and it's different. Everybody's different, so I don't know.
I hear you with that. I'm like you with that. I put it where I put it. I do know how to stay behind the beat if I want to, especially on a funk tune. It's easier. On a jazz tune, it can be hard to do depending on what everybody else is doing, But on a funk tune, I've been asked to do that. Like I just thought about, okay, I'm going to do what I think that was, and when I heard it on the playback, it worked. I hit in the center of the drum. I didn't put any shit on it. I just, and I just played a little behind. And it sounded okay, but it doesn't fit my personality. It doesn't fit how I hear the shit. I don't particularly hear it on top or edgy, but I don't know where I hear it. But I just,
But the tower way is always just listening to each other.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we never would have a discussion about, the time doesn't feel good. And other bands that I was in, when I lived in Los Angeles, everybody was just talking about each other. I don't like when you put this, and I don't like that. And with the tower, we never have that discussion. We just listen to each other and play together. So, it sounds really tight because everybody's got ears and they're trying to play together.
Yeah, man.
They're not arguing about it should be here.
Young guys talk that shit, but after a while, you kind of get consistent and you learn what's up. I don't know anybody. I was surprised to see that on Facebook tonight, but I responded with what Herbie used to say about that because they all want to know what did Herbie say about it. And he was kind of like what David just said. He said, man, you listen to what's going on and then you just try to blend in the best you can. And sometimes you have to lay it down and say, this is where it is to save the shit if it's skanky. You know what I mean? And
but as a drummer, we have a different responsibility.
Well, it seems like back, like prior to the 60s where there was really defined types of music. And people weren't experimenting and putting everything together and blending things like 70s and 80s and further on in the future. And as drummers, or actually anybody in a band, you never had these kinds of problems. But when you start blending all these different musics, there's really different, there's rules in that one specific music and the next one, like Latin music and funk and jazz and blues and R&B, and they're really, that's where you could define them maybe by what you were talking about, on the beat, in back of the beat, in the middle of the beat. That could maybe describe those feels that are just inherent in these specific different music. When you start blending shit, man, you really got to be friends and be on the same page. And we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And there could be confusion unless someone just runs it down. Here's where we got to all be, and then you're cool. But when you're just sitting with different people, it could get messy. And I think that's what.
That's the difference. That's the difference between
the other day, and I told
fusion.
him, I'm going to make this a science project. He started that shit. I've never heard that in New York, especially on a jazz gig. And it was already swinging like a motherfucker. It felt great. And the dude was like, well, we could have played this. And he said, we have 2 sessions. We have to do 10 tunes. And we can only keep the studio like maybe 4 hours each day. And so he started talking. Well, I just said, man, you know what, bro? I'm too old for this shit. This ain't going to be a science project. Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it in 1 or 2 takes, and that's especially if it's a jazz record. You don't have to have a lot of detail as far as an arrangement. We're gonna play Horace Silver tunes. Come on, man, and we're gonna actually have this discussion. So I left.
But Greg, that's the difference between fusion and jazz rock.
Confusion.
Jazz rock is rock and roll played by some jazz guys. Fusion, I don't know what that is. With that little 10-inch punk-ass cymbal that they put in the middle of the drum cancel. I'm not into that, man.
Or R&B, where Motown were using.
You know,
jazz players.
you know what I'm talking about. I ain't talking to you, Dennis, but you know what I'm talking about, Mike. You know what I'm talking about, man. I was like, it pissed me off, man. Come on, man.
What? The symbol?
That little punk. Stop. I don't even see, because there were certain guys did it and it was okay because they had the credibility to do that. I mean, even Buddy Rich, you know, they had the credibility to do that. But then when it came out later on, that these, you know, like, stop. I don't want to, you know, cancel. You know, but
It's an individual.
And we all basically played by listening to each other.
Yes.
yeah.
They had to.
Well,
And-
what you have to have is respect.
Well, I had no choice. How can you? I think you can play red. You have to play blue.
Well, then, honestly, I was told by Miles Davis, this is a big pot of stew. You're salt. That's what I had to do. I had to play like I was salt.
And
You know?
But do I have to play like I'm fucking chartreuse or something? I mean,
The color purple.
you're just you're trying to lock into the music, and you're being told to, you know, play like some kind of color paint. I don't know what the.
Yeah.
Hey, Dennis,
Yeah.
I think you have the wonderful distinction of we've gone the longest we've ever gone.
Yes, great.
Good
Hey,
one.
man, I love all you guys, man. Of course,
Just start talking,
They're
man.
great. Love to do it again.
Great to see you, man. I'm glad you're doing good, man. You're sounding good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'm recovering fast, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, man. You are, because you were on one of my Zooms the other while back. You know,
Yeah.
you're back. You're back.
Yeah.
We
Vinny
love-
heard me when I couldn't even talk hardly. Like you could barely get a whisper out.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
All I did was just sit there and just smile. Lenny, like, are you gonna say something?
All right, guys.
Okay,
Good one, man.
All right, everybody.
take
Hey,
care.
love you all, man. Love you all.
Great seeing you, Dennis.
See you, man. You're looking good, man. Okay.
All right.